Hey friends, let me ask you a question. How important is doing the will of God to you? How far will you go to find and do his will? My name's David Tensen, and this is day 19 of the 21 days of blessing. We started this on the 31st of December last year, and it's so good to have you here. As always, feel free to like, share, tag your friends in this video. There are the other videos on the 21 Days of Blessing Facebook page, which you're more than welcome to join. A brief one today. As always, we're reading from the book of John, and we're up to John chapter 7, and we're reading from verses 14 to 53. Jesus has just appeared at the temple in Jerusalem and begins to teach. A lot of people are astonished on how he appeared. Not only that, but the profound things he said. So let me read for you from the Passion Translation by Brian Simmons. It's a great paraphrase. We're reading from John 7, verses 14 to 17. This is not until the feast was half over did Jesus finally appear in the temple, and he began to teach. The Jewish leaders were astonished by what he taught and said, "How did this man acquire such knowledge? He wasn't trained in our schools, so who taught him?" So Jesus responded, "I don't teach my own ideas, but the truth that's revealed to me by the one who sent me. If you want to test my teachings and discover where I received them," he says, "first be passionate to do God's will, and then you will be able to discern if my teachings are from the heart of God or from my own opinions." Pretty great statement, and Jesus is well qualified to say it. It's interesting how Jesus defines the foundation of his discernment and the revealing of his truth as being passionate about doing the will of God. It's not theological training necessarily, it's not certification, it's not background or family of origin, none of those things. There's nothing inherently wrong with all those things I just mentioned, but the opinions of men should be no replacement for the heart of God, especially if we desire to do his will, to know his will. And I think this is Jesus' point here anyway. So what's God speaking to you about today? Good question. More importantly, let me ask you if there's anything that you would not be willing to hear. I know there's things that, God, don't send me there, don't tell me that, don't do that. Don't know if I'd want to hear that. And there are things we're aware of, but there are things that we may not be consciously aware of, which we don't want to hear. It's a good question, self-examination. Are there beliefs and belief systems and ideals that you've held on to that you're not willing to examine? Someone once said that we all are addicted to our own way of thinking, and it's quite an epidemic in the West. We're addicted to the way that we think. So I want to bless you today, child of the Most High, with openness of heart and mind and wisdom and knowledge that comes from the heart of God. I bless you with knowing that it's this passionate pursuit of him to do his will that will lead you into the knowledge of things that are particularly important for your destiny and your future in him and in the world and the time and the day that you live in. I bless you also with the courage to speak out the truth on the Father's behalf, like Jesus did, because he knew what delighted the Father, and he lived within that delight. This is day 19 of the 21 Days of Blessing. My name's David Tensen. You can find resource at davidtensen.com. Feel free to join the 21 Days of Blessing Facebook group. I'm thinking of extending the 21 days out to 40. It'll depend on some response and some things in our own life, and ultimately I want to pray that that's the will of God. But flagging that with you. Bless you, shalom, and thanks again for joining us.